So, Jasmine, it is so good to see you again. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us today for Barbie's Dreamhouse Challenge. I want to talk about this, but before we get to that, I want to talk about the impact that Barbie has on you, because I know you have a daughter, and I also know growing up, that, like, watching you on the show, you have like this permeance of like understanding what Barbie is, and you probably played with Barbies growing up, like all of us have. So, yeah, what was the impact for you on Barbie? Like, what do you love so much about her?
I think it was so interesting because when I was asked to do this show, immediately you think about, well, first of all, what an iconic brand, but you think about like, okay, how do I relate with this brand, and how, what does this mean to me? So it was the same question I asked myself. And the first thing I thought of was my daughter. She has the Barbie Dreamhouse. She has a snowboarder Barbie. She has, I don't know, a snorkeling Barbie. She has like one of the Barbies is a doctor, which I think is great. She has one that she has a baby, like the Barbie has a baby, and that's probably her favorite right now because she's baby crazy. But I really spent probably the most time with Barbie since I've had my daughter. I grew up in Virginia in the middle of nowhere. And I didn't spend as much time with Barbie. And my real experience was when I would go to my friends' houses and they had Barbie and they had all the different Barbies and everything like that. And that was when I got to really spend the most time with Barbie. So it was always this like kind of coveted toy, if you will, but also just the idea of Barbie was always so inspirational to me. And so knowing that, there was literally any occupation or any career that you wanted to be was represented through Barbie, that was something that I really connected with. I mean, I am a woman in a male-dominated industry and never even thought twice about that. I was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And this is the industry I'm going to be in. And I think that's very Barbie, right?
Yeah. And like, even like, you don't really notice it, but like, she is this one individual in this figure in pop culture that she breaks like the ceiling, like literally she can do anything. And there's no one like, yes, we have the GI Joes and all that, but she is like for world peace. She is, a doctor. She's helping. We have her in different situations. And then we have her also as a figure for, pop culture icons. Like it's so great. I love it so much. And so even watching the show, I got very nostalgic, seeing all the things. And I want to talk about the show now because I love this premiere. It was so much fun. I watched with my sister and we were like, oh my God, I remember that. And like everything was like so cool to like kind of throw it back to like when we were younger. So what was it like for you? What was the most exciting part when you were renovating and you got to be with, you were paired up with Antonia, but then your rival competitors were Egypt and Mike. So what was that like? What was exciting?
Okay. So it's always fun to do a big HGTV show like this because while so many of us host, we have, our own individual shows. We don't see each other as much as we would like to, just because geographically we're all over, right? And so when we get to come together, even if it's in competition, we're so excited. And this was a friendly competition, right? Everybody won because we were all building the Barbie Dreamhouse. So we were like, you know what? Like, yeah, we're going to be competitive, but it was friendly. So being able to work with Egypt and Mike was so fun. And I personally am also a huge Food Network fan. Like before I had an HGTV show, I was a huge HGTV fan. And when I got an HGTV show, obviously it was like, oh, but Food Network is right up there. So when I got to meet Antonia and like be on her show, I was a judge on her show, and kind of learn, all that, just kind of some of the inner workings of what it is to have a food show. It was so fun to work with her as well. That was really a dream come true. But we got the 1960s for our kitchen. And that was exciting because that's when Barbie started, right? And so we were kind of tasked with the nostalgia of the original Barbie. And so, for example, my mother-in-law, when I told her that I was doing the Barbie house, she was like, oh my gosh, she's like, I have the first ever Barbie. Like she has the very first ever Barbie and she had the first ever Barbie Dreamhouse. And I'm like, that's so cool. And also really nerve-wracking because I know there's a whole generation of fans out there that this first ever Barbie Dreamhouse, I mean, Barbie was way ahead of her time.
Yeah.
She had her own house.
She had everything. And it was so like envious. Like you're like, how can she have everything? And then you try to like emulate it. But I don't know. It was just so cute to see everything. And I know that you have renovated big, there was these events sort of renovations we've had on HGTV. Brady Bunch was one of them, which was also very well done. But you were bringing in those specific elements to life that there were like literally told to like bring it like this, bring it like that. With the Barbie house, it is so different because there's so many variations to do with the 60s theme. And then there's so much to work with when you're taking inspiration from Barbie. So like, how do you narrow down what to recreate?
Right. That was the question. And there were definitely things that we wanted to add into the design that we ended up not adding in. Like, for example, a black and white checkered floor is such a big deal. And that was something that we wanted to have because it's so indicative of that time period. But we also really wanted to stick with good design, if you will. And we wanted it to feel sophisticated and chic. And like you walk into that kitchen and not only is it like, 1960s and Barbie, but it's also like a kitchen you'd actually want to use. And so that was the challenge, right? We wanted it to feel like a toy, but we also wanted it to feel like good design and be a great representation of like what a gorgeous kitchen can be from any era. Yeah. And I think that's what Barbie would do. So, just saying.
And it's so interesting with the checkered pattern floor. And then you had this beautiful print that you made. I don't want to spoil it, but it was so well done because it pulls back. It's like a throwback to something that's in the Barbie house. Like, so yes. I was wondering, how is like when you're looking into design, how do you know when too much is too much? Like, I feel like sometimes you don't know it and you see it on paper and you're like, oh, this is great. But then when you're halfway in a renovation, you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done this. Like,
it's so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so hard, right? Because look, a lot of times the best laid plans, right? A lot of times things look really good on paper. They look great on a design board. And it happens. You get in the field, you get into the renovation and you're like, And I think part of being, a good designer, or even like if you're doing your own home, is having the ability to pivot and be flexible and know that, sometimes your plan isn't going to go as planned and you're going to have to, come up with another option and really just say it's okay. It's okay. And that's kind of like, I don't know. I think it's really important in design. It's also really important in life, right? Like so many times we make plans, we think things are going to go a certain way and they don't. And I think that's something that we can learn from these types of shows. And even just like watching HGTV in general is that like, it's okay to say, you know what? I don't like this. Or you know what? I thought I was going to like this and I don't. My bad. Let's pivot. Let's do something different. And that's a hard thing to do. I do it all day, every day, and it's still hard for me. But there's definitely times where too much is actually too much. And you need to say, you know what, we need to pare this down so that we can really focus on the things that we're trying to, have speak in the design. We don't want to have so many things yelling at you when you walk into a room that it's just overwhelming.
Yeah. And I love that the decade you were assigned was the 60s, because again, it was such a cultural specific time in, our American history. And so Barbie being the innovator that she was, like, I was somebody who had the Barbie Magic Voyager. I don't know if you ever saw pictures of it, but it's so cute. Like everything is something else in the little Voyager, like little RV. When you came up with the toyetic, features in the kitchen, how did you know like which ones to use? Like, I thought it was so well done because it's like, I never thought about those are like space saver sort of pieces. Like you can, how did you come up with that?
Okay. Honestly, this was the easiest part of the design for me. I think just naturally, I never knew the word like toyetic before this project, but my brain works that way, right? So like, I had a show called Hidden Potential where everything was hidden and multifunctional and purpose. And I still, even on Help I Wrecked My House and on my own projects, I always have a hidden room. I always have something that you think is one thing, but it's actually another thing. And I also really love multifunctional spaces. And especially in the last couple of years, we've all started using our homes in very different ways than we did, say, 5-10 years ago. And multifunctional spaces, I think, are the thing that have come out of that in a really positive way. People understand that you might have an extra room in your house and it needs to be the guest room. It needs to be the gym. It needs to be the home office. It needs to be the playroom. It needs to be, all these things. And isn't like a multifunctional piece basically something that you would have in a toyetic feature in a Barbie Dreamhouse. So I think that was pretty easy for me. I'm like, oh, we got this. Like, I know how to do that. And Antonia was so game and so excited because anything kitchen related, she was excited about. So yeah, for me, it was just like, okay, what's fun? What's something that, is going to wow the judges, but also what's really functional? Like, what would I want if I was Barbie and I was living in this kitchen?
Yeah, I thought it was so lovely. Like, it was just I was like telling my sister, like, can you believe that? Like, that is so ingenious. Like, just to have like a pop up, and it's like, okay. But something that was so interesting to me was that in this competition, you're the only designer who's actually renovating with someone outside of HGTV. So Antonia is on the Food Network, but were there any challenges that came up in terms of being in sync on design? Like, I know she has designed her own restaurants, but she is in a different field. So things that you would know, she doesn't know, and then vice versa. Yeah.
Well, I actually haven't seen the episode, so that's a fun fact. I will see it with everybody else when everybody else sees it, but I was there, so I know what happened. But I don't know if this made the cut or not, but I, especially when we started filming this, had a herniated disc in my neck. And it's been something I've been dealing with. It's really painful. And so when it came time to demo, right, because we took a house that was essentially like straight out of the 1980s and 1990s. And when it became time to demo, I was like, Antonia, I'm really sorry, but like, you have to do this. I will tell you how to do it. I don't know if this made the cut or not, but I was like, I will tell you how to do it, but I need your help. And so she actually swung the hammer and did all the things that I would normally do to that kitchen. And she loved it. She was so excited. She was so stoked. Her dad's a contractor. So she always watched her dad, do work on her home and on clients' homes her whole life, but she's never actually personally done it. And she was so excited at the end of the day to like text photos to her dad and be like, look, Dad, like I ripped this wall down, or like I smashed these cabinets. So that was really fun for her, I think. And then, no, we didn't clash on the design. She defaulted to me, and I loved hearing kind of her side of things. And then the thing that I defaulted to her on was the food. Anything food related, she was in charge of. She's an awesome chef. I mean, that's the best part, right? Like, if I'm going to have a partner that's a chef, I'm like, yes, I love to eat. So,
yeah, of course. Yeah, I know that on your social media, you and your husband, you love cooking. And so I love seeing that too. Like, you and Brett are so good at like grilling and like getting steaks out there. And it's really good. But no, that TV dinner was tantalizing. Like, it was so delicious looking. I was like, why can't we have these things? Like, it's like, it looks so good.
So good. The mashed potatoes, I can't even explain to you how delicious the mashed potatoes were. Like, they were so good.
It was fitting for Barbie and like all her friends. Like, I'm sure it was so good. But with Antonia, being a chef, I'm wondering, what were some of the surprising things that she brought to the table as a designer that you didn't ever consider, or even like, because, she's from a different area, so she's in a different expertise. Was there anything like that happened?
Yeah, I think, she definitely, the TV dinners was a big thing where she was like, look, like her version, or her, I guess the lens that she saw the Barbie Dreamhouse through is different than the lens that I see the Barbie Dreamhouse through, right? So like, she has always loved food. She's always wanted to be a chef. And so growing up, she would like play with Barbies, but like from a different viewpoint than maybe me, who was like more tactical. And I'm like, okay, we're going to build this. We're going to set up the rooms. I'm like arranging the furniture, and she's in there with the little like shish kebabs and the, setting the table and like making the food. So I thought that was really interesting as we talked about like our experiences. And then I think also, she was really excited about the vintage like Barbie cookbooks, right? We had the original Barbie cookbook on one of the shelves in our kitchen. And that she was like, no, we have to put that out. Like, that's so cool. And she's like reading through all the recipes. And then just, some of the other items, like what we put in the fridge and how we like styled the food and everything like that. She was like super interested in. And then I think she was just there to learn as far as design goes. She was like, oh, well, like floating shelves and like, how did you choose the size of these lights and all of that? She was like really, really into learning about that. As much as I was into learning about food, she was into learning about design. So I think we made a good pair from that standpoint.
It's very complimentary. It works out.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I did love was seeing you guys interact with Egypt and Mike, and I thought it was so funny. I was like, it happened right before the break. You guys, when you broke the wall, because you were like, we don't want them to like come back quickly, so we're going to break the wall immediately. Was that like something that was like happening like a lot in the house? Because like there are a lot of shared walls, and I'm wondering if you have any insight for any of the other renovations that were happening, or even just with yours too.
Oh my gosh. I mean, look. We HGTV hosts, are competitive. And I think that we can't help ourselves. So like we get possessive over our space. Like for some reason, suddenly this kitchen in this house was like the only thing I cared about. And the living room and, like Egypt and Mike's area, I'm like, sorry, I'm competitive. The thing is, they're just as competitive, and I'm pretty sure they would do the exact same thing. So I stand by our decision. And I know that the other teams, like, it's all love, but it's also like all war. Like we are competitive. So I love that the other teams, they were just as into it as we were. And I know everybody kind of brought their all, had a lot of fun, learned a lot along the way. We got to go to the Mattel headquarters. We got to like learn about Barbie and the origins of Barbie and the stories of Barbie. And I think that was really inspiring as well. So yeah, I will say that I know there were a few other tiffs or rifts or whatever you want to call it between the other teams. But at the end of the day, it was all love.
Yeah. And the thing is also like when you're thinking of Barbie, you're putting it forward for the, development of what a Barbie Dreamhouse looks like. It's always been open concept with her. Like she loves open concept. Like even that RV I had, like it would open up and then you'd have like the bed and you'd have like a picnic table and like a kitchen in that RV. Yeah. So like everything was there. Yeah.
We had to get rid of that wall. And so we were doing it for Barbie.
Yeah, for the sake of Barbie. But yeah, I know that as a designer, colors play a huge part in your world. And pink is not something a lot of designers play with because it's, not as subtle as other colors are. So what does the color pink mean to you, and how and where can we add that into our own life?
That's a really fair question. And I actually use a lot of color in my design. And you're right. Pink is not one of the prominent ones. I have been using a lot of the like dusty pinks and like a rose, if you will. And I use that pretty regularly, but like an actual Barbie pink is definitely, it's a really happy color. It's a fun color. I've had it on my nails for years. I still have it. You see my nails here. Mm-hmm. So I love a good pink manicure. And I think that's a way that I kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I always have my nails painted pink, and I do have like pink pops here and there, but I've never done a project with as much pink as this house has. But even the way that we approached pink in the kitchen, I think is a really good way that, a homeowner or someone who likes or prefers pink in their design can do it and still have it feel really sophisticated and really kind of chic. So, we used pink. Our cabinets in the kitchen, spoiler alert, our cabinets are pink, but they're not like in your face pink. And so I think that was the challenge, right? Use as much pink as we can, but still have it feel like a really like family friendly, sophisticated space.
I love that, when you're looking at the decades of Barbie, in the 60s, they're kind of muted colors like pastels. But then when you go to the 90s, they're so vivid and fluorescent. And there's such a juxtaposition of the coloring when you get to see it. So it's going to be so exciting to watch the rest of these episodes because I'd like to see how the rest of the house is looking like. And it's going to be so great. But
it's wild. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, I cannot wait. This has been such a fun show. I do love that this show will not only award one lucky fan the chance to stay in the dream house, but a donation to Save the Children's going to be made in the winning pair's honor. So being on a show like this, what has the entire experience meant for you, especially when you got to meet the fan that you were playing for?
Oh my gosh. I talk about a dedication, right? I mean, our fan, Antonia and I, we loved her. She was so hardcore Barbie, but also like the reason that she was a Barbie fan was such an inspirational story. And I mean, she actually moved from Asia to the United States just to be closer to Barbie. Like that's saying something, right? But it's, just hearing her story and understanding why she was such a fan of Barbie and what it was about Barbie that drew her in was really inspirational. And it really helped, Antonia and I understand like how important this was, not only for her, but just in general, making this TV show, being a part of this project and being able to share just like another version of Barbie for anyone who is seeking that, right? Maybe they're seeking inspiration. Maybe they're seeking confidence. Maybe they're looking for something to believe in. And hopefully that's what we gave them.
Yeah. So what can you tease for the remainder of this season? It's been so much fun to see already. And I know it's going to be like drama and like a little bit of competition. So yeah, what else?
Yeah, I mean, it's Barbie, so it's fun. I will say that. There's definitely a lot of competition. There's a little bit of drama. You're right about that. There are some really creative spaces and there's fun. Like it's just all about what would Barbie do, right? Like how would Barbie want her house and taking, and you if you think about all of us different hosts and the shows that we have and take that and then kind of marry that with the Barbie brand, it's really fun because everybody has such a different viewpoint and a different point, idea of what Barbie is to them. And it's kind of, so it's like a personal take from each host as to what Barbie is. And then you add the decades on top of that. Also the judges. The judges are something that I thought was a really great, like HGTV did a great job choosing our judges. And I think that was really interesting as well. So lots of love for our judges. And yeah, I think that the winner is not who you're going to expect.
Wow. I'm excited for that. I have to ask before I let you go. I always love our chats, but did you get to keep your Barbie doll?
The answer is yes, but I saw it at Mattel and it was the most interesting experience because when I got to meet my Barbie doll at Mattel, they have a person there and their job is just to style Barbie so that no matter how we're standing or what we're doing, maybe we're holding a sledgehammer, maybe we're putting our hat on, it looks so lifelike because they style Barbie. I mean, talk about a dream job, right? So when I met my Barbie, I was like, oh my gosh, it was so surreal. And it is being mailed to me as we speak. I have tracking on my Barbie and I know when it's going to get here. So I'm super excited. And yes, we got to keep our Barbie. I can't wait for my daughter to meet me as a Barbie. That's really what it's all about. I mean, as far as like cool moms go, I feel like I'm crushing it right now.
No, you really are. I think you've gotten like the VIP mom, like the award for that. You're really doing it. But no, I'm so excited for this show. I can't wait for everyone to see it. And it's coming out around the time as the Barbie movie, which did you get your tickets? Cause I got my tickets.
Yes, of course. You're kidding? Of course. Yes.
I cannot wait to see it. So yeah, thank you so much for your time and talking about Barbie's Dreamhouse Challenge, which is coming out July 16th. And it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be on HGTV and Discovery Plus. So thanks so much, Jasmine.
Thank you.